Let's talk a little bit about how to control the far arm. Sometimes it becomes the way to step into a lot of other attacks. So if we're in this starting position and I have this and this, a lot of times what I'm looking to do is get this arm underneath their elbow. So there's a few different ways I can do that. Again, as they're fighting, and particularly if they try and roll away from me, sometimes that arm comes. I can reach all the way down to this elbow and I can push and I can get underneath, right? Or I'll start an attack. I know an Americana doesn't work very well from here, but it gets their arm to move. So if I reach here and I grab this and I start playing with that, we can switch those hands off and now reach up and behind the head. So let me show that one more time. So we're here, I grab this wrist, his elbow flares out, I'm gonna match that and drive up and behind his arm. Now I got a nice hook here, his head's bowed forward, I have this arm here, there's all kinds of things we can do, step into arm bars, whatnot, but for now, what I wanna do is I'm gonna get on my right knee and I'm gonna bring this leg up and through that hole. Boom. Once my leg is over the top of his arm, there's plenty of options. We can move back into this bone or this wing choke we were doing earlier. I can throw my leg over for a bow and arrow choke, but for me, my favorite path and the easiest thing to do is to reach through, grab my shin, and lay to my side. Once I have this triangle locked up, the finish of a choke is actually pretty hard here. And maybe it's worth it for you to find it. Sometimes I can just feel my calf on their neck and then it's worth squeezing in and finishing that choke. But most of the time what I'm doing from here is going two hands to this elbow and I'm gonna pull that arm down and hip up, and that's gonna be a shoulder submission right there. If that elbow's feeling tight, we can also go to the end of the lever here on that wrist, pull that out and hit that arm bar right there. The triangle is here. If I get into the right angle, pull my knees together, get that right squeeze, but it is often the most difficult option when those other two are just kind of hanging out for us. You were like patient in that one. There's no need to be. They can't tell if I'm really choking you. You could just tap. So we're here and here, and if he's got his hands up high, he's defending his collars, maybe I grab this wrist, I could push underneath, I can pull this and then match it. However I get this elbow away from the body, I want to then insert my hand here. I'm not lazy with this hook, okay? I'm folding my wrist in, I'm pushing my forearm to the back of his head, making him bow a little bit. There's things we can do to isolate that arm now and step into high mount, all that kind of stuff. I can also get on my knee and I'm gonna make a big circle with this leg over the top of his arm and sit into this S position. From here, again, there's collar chokes, there's all kinds of things, but the most simple line of attack is to grab my own shin and lay down on my side. Once I'm laying on my side, I lock up into a triangle. That triangle choke's a little bit hard to finish, so we're just gonna grab this elbow and I pull this elbow back, and when I feel like he's at full extension, then I can hip up. I don't need to waste a bunch of energy hipping and pulling and getting far away from him. I wanna pull this elbow into my body first and then hip through. There's alternatives to that. I can pull this out. I can stuff it into a supercharged arm bar. That's totally fine. My elbow goes over his wrist and I pack his hand back into my armpit, and then we just hip up into that. Those are my two favorite attacks from that position, and they work best. Let's look though at the bow and arrow while we're in this position. So we get here, I'm looking for this kind of stuff. When I get my hand underneath his armpit here, I'm gonna step over, as we did before, and now I'm gonna feed this collar to myself. Once that collar's there, I'm gonna use this grip I have under this elbow to clear a path to get my leg over his hip. My hand goes to his pant leg. My elbow here, this is true in the wing choke and true in the bow and arrow choke, is I don't want to go out. Notice his head escapes if I go out. I don't even want to go straight back. I want to go elbow in. And I'm just making that tight. The choke is actually done with my hips pumping up as my elbow comes in tight. So from here, he's the bow, I am the arrow, I lean back, and I hip up. So one more time. I have this S sit here that I've stepped through off of my hook over his armpit. I'm gonna feed this lapel to myself. I'm gonna drive this hand up and behind his head to make space to bring this leg in. This elbow comes into my hip. This hand goes to the gi. I lay back and I start hipping up. Again, I don't lay back all the way and try and hip up from there. I pull this all in. Elbows are coming into my body, not away from my body where he can create space. And I'm hipping up. I'm Kevin. It matches your gi.